Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. We join you as we head into really the juicy part of March. We are there. The dead period is over in sports. Everything is going to come at you as it did yesterday in lightning fast pace as the NFL. And give the NFL just so much credit. They're so much smarter than everybody else. Here, their season just ended. And here they are a month later, not even a month later, and they're dominating sports news, okay, because they know how to do things. The having the 2 days where you can leak information is genius. It complete these aren't even official deals, they're all gonna happen, but the bottom line is it allows the every network, everybody in sports to get involved and just sit there, and it's not like baseball where you're waiting days for a piece of news, okay? Here, they come at you every second. It's like election results. Boom, 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 boom. And it's big news after bigger news after bigger news after bigger news. And you know what? It is so smart. It is so dominant. It just shows you they are so many light years ahead of everybody else. It's ridiculous. Now, as far as yesterday, well, there was a Giants Jets and then the league. From the Giants standpoint, okay, Harbaugh's first chance to put his hand on the franchise, and this is Harbaugh, folks. All right, don't think about the general manager. This is Harbaugh. Okay, now they knew they were going to lose players. They did. Okay, you knew they were going to lose Robinson, and he got overpaid. You knew they were going to lose Flott, and he got overpaid. They both went to Tennessee. Matter of fact, Tennessee decided that they wanted to raid the Giants. Did they see the Giants play last year? They decided they wanted to raid the Giants. You want to raid a team? You're going to raid a team that played like the Giants last year? I mean, I thought that was a little unusual. But again, I am extremely, extremely suspect of the brain trust in Tennessee. We will get to that as the season unfolds. Extremely skeptical of the brain trust in Tennessee. Now, the Giants re-signed the right tackle, which is a big plus, and got him cheap. I mean, really got him cheap. I was surprised. They really got him. I mean, that's a bargain. There weren't a lot of bargains yesterday, but that was a bargain. They bring in the tight end. They bring in Isaiah Likely from Baltimore. Fine. He's a very useful tight end. Now, he's not a great player. Guy caught 27 balls last year. I think he had 1 touchdown. He blocks. He fits what they wanna do. He'll be the other tight end. Fine. It's not like a earth-shattering move here, but it's okay. They bring in Edmonds. Okay, they need help there. They bring in Edmonds. They brought in Jordan Stout. Now, that was a really good move. You're bringing in an all-pro punter. Remember, this is John Harbaugh. This is special teams, okay? He's gonna bring in people he knows. You bring in his did he overpay him? Yeah, I mean, he got more money than any punter ever got. The Punters Association is ecstatic today. They got a punter who just made $12 million bucks. They re-sign Hodgins. Okay. Everyone thought they were going to get the Baltimore center. In the last couple of days, it became pretty obvious they weren't. The Raiders, who had one of the worst offensive lines you ever saw, and now they have Genty. They have an all-world tight end. They have Genty, who they mishandled and got beat up all year last year, and now they're going to have the number 1 draft pick, Mendoza. They went and got a really good center, a versatile, athletic leadership center, and they gave him more money than any interior lineman has ever received. It was a staggering contract in terms of the fact it was only a 3-year contract, which means he can hit the market again in 3 years. If you're going to give him a big contract, you want to even lock him up for 5 years. You didn't. You locked him up for 3 years. All right, it happens. The Raiders went out and added a lot of players yesterday. They were so bad. They were so far under the cap. They were able to do that. Back to the Giants. Darius Washington is a special teams player, a backup defensive back, but really a special teamser. So you got a special teams player that he knows well. You got a punter who's really good. You got a linebacker. You got a tight end who's very solid, and you re-signed your offensive lineman who was critical, and that was a big positive. That's where you are right now. There's a lot more work to be done. There are a lot more holes to fill. They clearly need a cornerback in the worst way. They need help at guard. We know that. They need help at defensive tackle. They even need help at wide receiver. They need a second wide receiver. We know that. Okay, they can get one in the draft. Now, I don't think they're gonna get one on the first round of the draft. Could they get a defensive back on the first round of the draft? Well, I'd like to see them take a safety. They could they will get a player that fills one of those bills, wide receiver, safety. I doubt they'll take a corner on the first round, on the first pick. They're gonna get a really good player with 5. Um, they don't expect to be picking again there that high. So they have a lot more work to do. They lost some key guys. They lost some other guys. They lost obviously, one to the Jets, and they lost another. There's 2 more to Tennessee, and all right, it happens. Players move, players in. Remember, this is only one phase. This is part 1 of free agency. You have another day of that today. You still have free agency after that for the guys who haven't signed, and then you have the draft, and then you have free agency. So you got a lot. Remember, this is the first step in the NFL. The NFL is still 6 months away. There's a lot to be done. So far, nothing that's shocking, nothing that earth shattering, nothing that you said, "Wow." No, guys he knew, guys that would help their special teams. A tight end who's gonna help them in the running game as a blocker and as a pass catcher. A linebacker who's got a lot of experience. Re-sign the tackle. So you don't have to worry about the tackles right now. You're covered with the tackles. You gotta improve the offensive line interior. You didn't get the big splash at center. Wasn't gonna happen. He got $81 million. Um, but so far moving in the right direction, everything's fine. I think pretty much as expected. Now the Jets, the quarterback is not done yet. We'll see what happens, whether it gets done today or not, or the next 2 days. Um, the Jets had so many holes to fill that you knew they were gonna have to add a lot of people. They added a lot of defenders, none of them great. Asai and Demario Davis and Minka in a trade, and guys who can help them. Guys that he knows, guys that can help them, adding depth on the defensive line. A lot of defenders brought in yesterday. They have a lot more holes to fill. Obviously, they have to make big moves at quarterback. They're gonna bring in a pass rusher at number 2. Reese is probably gonna be the guy. All right. They're gonna get that big edge guy they need. They are still in need of help on the offensive line, on the interior of the offensive line. They're in need of help at wide receiver. They're in need of help in a lot of spots. That's why they're a terrible team. They have a lot to do. Yesterday, what they did was they added a bunch of role players, guys he was comfortable with, guys who will give them depth, give them numbers, make them better, make them a more complete defense. And that's what he was looking for. That's what he did. Nothing earth shattering, nothing headline making, nothing that you would say, what the heck is he doing? Nothing really stupid, nothing outrageously sensational, just a bunch of guys who can move them in the right direction. Now that it's his defense and he's gonna call it and everything else. But again, Everyone's waiting to see what's gonna happen at the quarterback position with the Jets. That's the bottom line. Now around the league, you wanna see what the top teams are doing. The Rams went out, they had 2 holes. They have to make their special teams better. They have to do that in a big way. Coaching, they went and got a new long snapper. Their infrastructure has to be better, their coaching has to be better, their players have to be better, the way they go about it, the attention to detail has to be better. They also knew they have got to be able to be much better in the secondary, and they went out and they improved their secondary immensely. Looking no further than the Chiefs for those players and getting 2 guys who are gonna team up and help them incredibly in the secondary. Make them, without question, to me, the NFC favorites right now for the Super Bowl. You know, that's one thing about the Rams, when they have something to do, they go out and do it. They know they had to help their secondary. They know they had to bring in some new secondary players, and they knew they had to improve their special teams. They're remodeling their special teams, and they brought in guys in the secondary. Ravens went and got a move that will help them immeasurably. Everyone wants to talk about what the Raiders lost. Did they lose a good center? Yes. Did they lose some people? Did they lose a good punter? Yes. Did they lose a solid tight end? Yes, not a star, but a solid tight end, and likely. Yes. Did they lose guys they couldn't lose? No. I mean, listen, they don't want to lose the punter. I'm sure they would have liked to keep the center if they could, but they knew that was going to be impossible. They do need help on the interior of their offensive line, and they're going to have to do it without a high draft pick. But they went out and changed the face of their defense and made a move that I think is the biggest move made in football this year in the offseason, and that is bringing a bona fide game wrecker into Baltimore to supplement that defense that was so good in the back 2 units, but needed a conventional pass rusher who can get to the quarterback in every big spot and can do it without blitzing the quarterback. Listen, you want to be able to protect your quarterback and your running game in the playoffs. You want to have a quarterback that can really play in the playoffs, and you want to have a fourth quarter pass rush that you can conventionally get to the quarterback without blitzing. If you can do that, you win championships. And now they went and got Crosby, who I think will revitalize that team and make them the favorites in the AFC. That's the biggest move by far. By far. He is a game wrecker. You substitute, you game plan. You spend your week thinking about how to keep him from wrecking your team. Players like that are rare. They now have a quarterback who keep you awake nights, and they now have a pass rusher who will keep you awake nights. And that's how you get to Super Bowls. And obviously, Baltimore and the Bills are in a race, an arms race to get to a Super Bowl. The Bills added more, which helped them at wide receiver, no question. But the Bills need to be better in a lot of spots. I think they've fallen off in a lot of spots. Yes, they have the quarterback, and that gets them to the playoffs every year, but I thought they fell off dramatically last year. They have a lot of work to do to get it back where he can take them over the top. Like Kansas City, they startled everybody, surprised the heck out of me by going to get Walker. I really thought Walker would go back to Seattle. I was surprised he didn't. Andy has decided to remodel the offense. Remember, Kansas City hasn't run outside in a long time. The only time they ran outside was on end arounds by Worthy. They ran inside, looking to get 5 hard yards, keep the defense honest, run it in the red zone, run it into the end zone inside the 5. That's all they were trying to do. Now they're looking for a guy who can hurt them, hurt teams to the outside, hurt teams to the perimeter, make big runs, break big runs, and also be very big in the screen game. But as I've told you, since the middle of last year when Kansas City collapsed and Mahomes got hurt, Kansas City was going to be faced with a dilemma. Were they going to rebuild or retool? They've clearly gone the retool way, and I think it's the wrong way to go. When they broke off the defenders because they couldn't resign, listen, they couldn't pay McDuffie. We know that. Was he a top player? Yes, they couldn't pay him. Look how much money he got from the Rams. Would I have brought Kelsey back? No. Is Kelsey deserving of another year? Yes, but this is not a sentimental game. If you've won championships and you're sentimental, you will lose. You can't pay a player off for his greatness and for how much he's won for you by keeping him around longer than you should. Chuck Noll talked about that. Tom Landry talked about that. The worst mistake I made was being sentimental to players who had won for me. It cost me dramatically late in my coaching career. Noel said it. Landry said it. Soon Andy will be saying it. They sign Walker. They bring Kelsey back for $12 million. They bring Thornton back. Okay, they sign a moderate pass rusher. They trade off some really good deep backs because they have to. They bring in a running back to change the offense a little. We don't know what they're going to get out of Mahomes and how quickly. Their offensive line is a disaster. It has to be completely rebuilt. And to me, trying to retool, doing it with Kelsey, doing it with the receivers that they have, doing it with the players they have, it won't work. Because of Walker, they've moved up to being third in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl next year. I think it's crazy. They're the favorite out of that division now, all of a sudden. Nonsense. Nonsense. They're not better than those teams now. You watch. They needed to take a step back, rebuild the infrastructure, and then take another shot with Mahomes. It's hard to do because you're asking Andy and Mahomes to pause their careers, their brilliant, legendary, iconic careers for a year, and they don't want to do it. I understand that. So they try to find another way. We'll bring Kelsey back. We'll go get a running back. They have no offensive line. And now they just traded the key parts of their secondary. I don't think it works for them. I do think it works for the Ravens. I think Crosby is a huge pickup for the Ravens. Now, the Ravens got to get it done in a big spot. Let's be honest. Same for the Bills, who I think have a lot of work to do. But you're more interested in the Giants and the Jets. And right now, I would say this. It's too early to make a total judgment on how these teams have been put together in free agency so far, which is only the first step before the draft. But nobody's taken a misstep yet. Harbaugh's done the kind of things that you expected Harbaugh to do. And the Jets have not done anything wrong yet, but you're waiting to see what they're going to do with the quarterback position. Who's going to be the bridge? We know they're going to draft a quarterback probably later in this draft. They're not going to draft him on the first round. They might not draft him early in the draft. They probably will draft a young man to bring in, and their quarterback of the future is probably in next year's draft. but they need a bridge guy, and who is it gonna be? Is it gonna be Kyler Murray? Is it gonna be Kirk Cousins? Is it gonna be Geno Smith? Could you imagine being Geno Smith? Is it gonna be Carr? Is it gonna be somebody else? Who's it gonna be? It's not gonna be Mariota, he went back. Who is it going to be? That's critical. They need help at wide receiver. That's critical. They need interior line help. That's critical. They have obviously Hall, who I don't know if he's happy he's here or not happy he's here. I don't know what he's going to make of the situation. Obviously, they kept him here. He's a good player. And you want to see this year is about whether they can take any steps forward and look like a football team after last year being an utter embarrassment. And whether or not the head coach keeps his job. That's really what this year is about. Does he do enough to keep his job? Does he show you enough to keep his job? We still have a bunch of guys to go out and sign, so we'll be dealing with this the rest of the week. And again, remember, this is a long process, especially for teams coming as far as the Giants and Jets have to come. The big key for the Giants is they have their quarterback. So it looks so much better because you're not worrying about your quarterback. Now you're not worried about your tackles. Now, there was a lot of talk of them going out and getting a big back. They didn't do that. That they were gonna go out and get a big back. They didn't do that. Now, we haven't seen everything they've done yet. Have they made their special teams better? Yes. Have they put their little first hardball touch on the special teams? Yes. Go out and gave a punter more money than anybody ever gave a punter before. But is he a good punter? Yeah, he's a terrific punter. He's all pro. Re-sign the tackle, bring in the tight end, bring in a veteran linebacker, start to put the pieces in place to be better. John knows this doesn't get built in a day, but he wants to make a quantum leap this year. And since he has the quarterback in place, he can do that. Now, before I get to the Big East, opening day will be here before you know it. And Bet Rivers is helping you get back into the box scores by really giving you some stuff to look at in spring training. With the spring training bonus bet. Bet is in New York and New Jersey. You can get a $10 bonus bet to use on any spring training game when they enter the code Francesa 226 in their Bet Rivers app. That code again is Francesa, Francesa 226. It's available to Bet Rivers bettors in New York and New Jersey. Offer ends March 14th. Must be 21 or older. Eligible players only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE New York or text HOPENY, all in caps. Hope NY. Now send your questions to the Mike Francesa Podcast Gmail at gmail.com. Mike Francesa Podcast at gmail.com. And don't forget to take a minute to subscribe to the free Mike Francesa newsletter. You get exclusive content and chances to win prizes. Signing up is free. To sign up, go to the Mike Francesa Podcast at gmail.com and do it today. The Big East begins. Conference tournaments are underway. Locals are getting ready to battle. The one hit leagues are underway. And those games are great because, winner take all. You can't have UConn, St. John's, where both teams are just wondering about where they're going to seed and they're doing it for bragging rights. There's no drama in that game. Yeah, there's drama from a standpoint of whether St. John's can show that they can throw back from that game that they got embarrassed in Connecticut, but that's a different story. They're both solidly in the NCAA tournament. As this tournament begins, St. John's and UConn and Villanova, all very solid in the NCAA tournament. Villanova's a 6 or a 7 seed. St. John's will be a 4 or a 5 seed. UConn will be a 2 or maybe a 1, although I think Florida's gonna get that 4th one. I think the ones are gonna be Duke, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida. I think that UConn's gonna be a 2, along with Houston and Iowa State, and, you know, we'll see who else. Maybe Michigan State. We'll see who it is. Doesn't really matter, but, we'll see who it is. Some good teams out there. There's 2 that are better than everybody else. Duke and Michigan are better than everybody else. They're the 2 best teams. They should be 1, 2. They should be separated. St. John's in the 4-5 is gonna probably see. I don't think they're gonna be higher than a 4 this year. I think with that being the case, uh, you know, they're gonna see a 1 in the regional semis. You just hope it's not the 1. I mean, if it's Arizona or it's Florida, okay, take your shot. If it's Duke or Michigan, don't love those matchups, but we'll see what happens. Now, tournament begins Wednesday night, always special, always fun. A lot of people say it's the best tournament. Well, we say that because we're provincial. We think we're from here and we think it's the best. It's a great tournament. The ACC was always considered the best, but the ACC's changed. When the ACC was the ACC, that was the conference tournament. Nothing touched that, but that's a long time ago. Those days are gone. As these leagues just completely, ran away and sold their soul for football. You have 3 teams that are coming in, 1, 2, 3. St. John's is 1. They'll play at 12:00 on Thursday against the winner of Providence Butler. Seton Hall Creighton will be the other game, the 4-5 game. The night games will be Villanova and UConn. Seton Hall is the only team that can win 2 games. I first thought that they might need to get to the conference championship, to Saturday's game, to get in at large. I'm now thinking if they can win 2 games. Now, that's not gonna be easy because that means they'd have to beat St. John's. Because they're gonna get Creighton, and then they're gonna get St. John's. Figuring St. John's is gonna win their game. Now, that's gonna be hard. I think if you're going Friday night, which is always the best night, you're gonna have Seton Hall against St. John's and UConn against Nova. Now, Nova's had a great year. They've lost twice to UConn, once in overtime. They lost twice to St. John's. Neither game was close. They lost one other game. They had 5 conference losses. They've won 24 games. They've had a great year under Willard. They're back. They're going to the NCAA tournament. They're all excited. That's Villanova. That's their heritage. So they're back in the NCAA tournament. So Friday night looks to me to be Seton Hall, St. John's, UConn, Villanova. And then I think the inevitable will probably happen, and that is that St. John's and UConn will meet again in a game that doesn't decide anything. It does decide who holds the trophy up. It does decide bragging rights. That's important in the league, no question. But as far as the NCAA tournament goes, means nothing. Means nothing. By then, they'll have decided whether UConn's going to be a 1 or a 2 or not, and they'll have decided whether St. John's is going to be a 4 or a 5 or not. And whatever happens in that game, unless one team tears the other one apart, will not really dramatically move anybody in the committee room. Remember, those guys are in the committee room starting on Thursday, and they watch a lot of games. But unless a game is just a disaster, they've already made their decisions on stuff like that. They've already decided. whether they're going with UConn or Florida. And I think that's really the settlement now. I always say it's not there anymore. They had a 3-game losing streak. I think it's UConn. And UConn might have lost it because of the loss to Marquette. They might have lost that spot because Florida's been playing more consistently down the stretch. I would give it to Florida, and should Florida win their conference tournament, they'll automatically get the bid. But so what? You're a 2 versus a 1. It's not the end of the world. The 3 other ones are locked in: Duke, Michigan, Arizona. They're ones, and then probably Florida or UConn. Like I said, everyone else in the tournament other than Seton Hall, Villanova's already in the NCAA tournament. 6 or a 7 seed. I mean, they could be as low as an 8 if they don't play well in their game, but most likely 6 or a 7 seed. But you can fit them in anywhere from the 6 to the 8 line, but I got a feeling they'll be either a 6 or a 7. Because they're a solid team, solidly coached. They'll play well in the tournament. Seton Hall's the only one that can be upwardly mobile without winning the conference tournament. Anybody else other than Seton Hall has to win the conference tournament to get the at-large bid, to get the automatic bid. And that would take a bid away from somebody else, but that's the way it works. That's not gonna happen because that team would have to beat some really good teams back-to-back nights to get that far, and I can't see that happening. This league has been St. John. If you look at the St. John's and Syracuse and UConn's records against the rest of the league, they're both not gonna lose. Just doesn't happen. So one's a lock to be in the championship game, and you have I think about a 75% chance that they'll both be in the championship game, and we'll get round 3, which is what we want. After that debacle, and it was a debacle. That was as sound a beating as I've seen a team take that's a pretty good team in a long time. I mean, they were mortified. They missed their last 24 shots. I didn't even know if that's humanly possible. I mean, they were run out of the building by UConn, and they need to pay them back. Now, they beat them the first time. Beat them easier than we thought they would. And we'll see what happens now. So, you have the Big East tournament, then you have, you've gone through the days. We're back. Selection Sunday night, and if you're interested in such things, the Oscars Sunday night. I'm rooting for Chalamet to win for Marty Supreme, but I'll tell you something. He's made some comments that have ticked people off. He didn't win the Screen Actors. I think it's much more wide open than I thought it would become Oscar night. So I think it's kind of nip and tuck now. He might not get it. But the Oscars are Sunday night. The selection show first. You got selection show, obviously. You got some local teams that are going to be involved, and that always makes it fun. And then right behind that, opening day. Before you know it, the 25th, the 26th, the Yankees and the Giants, the Mets and the Pirates. Opening day before April. And then the NCAA tournament will zoom right past you, and then comes the Masters. You got opening day, then you got playoffs and the winter sports, and away we go. And let's be honest, Tatum's coming back and made things interesting with the Celtics. Adds another team in the East to worry about if you're a Knicks fan. Now, if you're into the baseball classic, which I have to admit I've watched it a little bit. I watched it on the plane. I watched them play. Who'd they play their first game against? Somebody they beat the heck out of. I can't remember who they played. A bad team. Was it Netherlands? I think was it Netherlands? I can't remember. I think it might have been the Netherlands. Well, they played a bad team in the first game, and Judge came out and hit a home run the first, and he hung. No, it wasn't. It was a South American team because Contreras was in there. It was Brazil. That's who it was. It was Brazil. Contreras was pitching. He got Judge out the second time on a double play. The guy who pitched in the first inning hung a room service slider to Judge, which he didn't miss. Judge had another homer last night. Anthony, who I think is going to be such a sweet player, he had a big home run last night too. Skeens is going to make $9 gazillion when he's a free agent, or when he gets that big contract. He's looking at a lot of money. Was just unhittable. 1 hit, 7 strikeouts in 4 innings, and they held on 5-3 against Mexico, which has got a good team. Judge has got a couple of home runs already. If you're into that stuff, so be it. If not, you wait for them to return to the spring training, and away you go. The Yankees are at 91.5 wins. The Mets are at 90.5 wins. So we'll get to that. Those are teams 2 and 3 behind the Dodgers. They're the only 90-win teams, other than the Dodgers, who are 102, I think 102.5. And then the Yankees are 91.5, and the Mets are 90.5, 90.5. So we'll get to all that before opening day. I think the Mets are going to be interesting. I went and saw the Mets. Emily was down in Florida with us, and I went and saw the Mets. It's funny. Somebody sent me something that one of the guys who likes to follow us and put up all the different stuff, I don't remember which one it was, we have a couple of them, said, "Oh, hey, either Francesa either has to stop using the tanning machine," which I don't own, and never used in my life, or he better rush to the hospital, because how can you be that dark? I mean, did that dim bulb have a thought that I might be in Florida doing the shows during that time? That I might have been on the golf course most mornings and then come in to do the show? So it's just a real Florida tan? I mean, hello? He either was abusing a tanning machine, or he should rush to an emergency room. Oh, really? How about the third choice, that I was in Florida? And it's very sunny on the golf course every day. We got to get together down there. There's a lot of guys there now, I might see a Hojo down there. I might see a Mazzilli. I play golf with Barry Watkins, play golf with Joe Brown from the NFL. I play, all the different guys. We all get together. Howie Rose, I might see down there. He's down there too. I mean, so we all get together at different times, play some golf. You never know who you're going to see down there. And, I've had a little bit of a knee problem, so I've been slowing down a little bit. I haven't been able to play every day like I want to, but I got to play enough that I had a suntan down there. So that's all it was. Hate to take away your story. I don't own a tanning machine. Never used one in my life. I'm not Sid, who sits in one of those, things 3 hours a day. Sid Rosenberg used to sit in that thing like 3 and 4 hours a day. I think he still does. I've never used one. This is natural sunlight, sorry. That's all it is. But never thought that, hey, maybe he's in Florida playing golf. Oh, duh. Dim bulbs. But we got a lot going on. So we got a lot to check in on. We will on the NFL. Let's see what the Jets do quarterback-wise. Let's see how the Giants complete their free agency picture. Let's see how the Jets complete their free agency picture. And remember, you still have the draft to deal with, which for the Jets and Giants is going to be quite telling because of where they're selecting. And NFL just continues to just, their year never stops. Boom, right back in top. And that's the way to do free agency. That's the way. You turn on the set yesterday and you don't move for 3 hours, because you turn on, like I turn on the NFL Network, and every 20 seconds, one of the guys is reading, all right, here's one. All right, here's one. All right, the agents want to leak all this stuff. So, blah, blah, blah from this agency says, here we go. And then here we go. And then here we go. And wait, here we go. And this guy's released. This guy's re-signed. This guy just signed with this team for this much money. And one after another, after another, after another, after another. The hits just keep on coming. That's the way it should happen. We'll see you later.